May it be a light for you in dark places when all other lights go out.
Hey guys, it's DCHL Devin here, and welcome to a very special video for Ardacon, the largest SPG tournament in the world, and a fantastic experience. For any of you guys who have not gone to Ardacon, I highly recommend going this year. As of the filming of this video, it is 2 months away as the first weekend in August, so I highly recommend you probably plan this now if you're thinking about going, since flights only tend to get more expensive. But other than that, let's get right into it. James has requested that I actually review this tournament pack as well as other channels, and I wanted to give my take on everything that's going to happen. So first off, biggest thing to note is that we have 3 days now, 3 full days now, and that gives us a lot more flexibility. So it's the same amount of events, just stretched over time. Welcome change, absolutely welcome change in this case. So starting at 9:45, we have Chaos and Arda. If those of you guys who do not know, Chaos and Arda is a 4-way free-for-all that is entirely random and chaotic. It has objective cards where you have to fulfill the objectives on the card in order to reward yourself VPs. And I can tell you now, the cards are incredibly silly, but at the same time, some are very tactical. The game was actually invented by myself and is actually very fun. Almost everyone who's ever played it, in fact, I could say pretty much, I don't think anyone hasn't liked it. It is generally a just awesome game to get into, and I think you guys will have an absolute blast. I think this is a fantastic way to start off an event like this because you actually can meet people you've never met before. I think my first game of Chaos and Arda was like an Italian guy, a Polish guy, and a Greek guy, and it's like I would have never met them otherwise, maybe in a doubles match or something like that. But it's you end up in this where you're trying to make alliances and betrayals. So that is the first event at 9:45, and that goes for 2 hours up until about 12 noon. So that's how we're kicking off our morning. Now, for those of you guys who don't want to play in Chaos and Arda, I'd highly recommend still coming early anyway, because the doubles event is happening where you guys are going to be setting up your doubles armies for nominations for the best painted and stuff like that. So, if you intend on participating in the doubles, still highly recommend coming early so that way you can get your army in for that judging. And just so you guys know, registration starts at 8. So if you guys just happen to have the free time available, come in as early as 8 p.m. or even as early as 7 p.m. the previous day. He actually has an entry in here for Thursday where you can come in and register then. So with that, you have the doubles. The doubles is next, where you and an ally can have 350 points, and it's basically a 700-point army. Both of you guys count as a single force. However, you're going to roll to see whose general is actually your actual general. So make sure you guys both pick a solid general for that. As well as that, you also break individually, I believe. I will go ahead and correct that as I get to the doubles format, but I believe you break individually. And the 3 doubles games are, what are they, 2 hours? 2 hours long, and they are randomly determined. So that means we don't know. Last year, we knew what missions it was in order to be the most balanced, and this year, we'd have no clue. So, admittedly, you could probably get a little bit hurt if you were playing, like, I don't know, Hobbits, and all you get is Lords of Battle into the death. But, hey, that's the nature of it. Doubles is generally a little bit more lighthearted, so for the most part, it shouldn't matter as much. After that, you have doubles awards at 7:45, and then a Middle-earth team Q&A at 8 o'clock. So, if you guys were thinking about not just skipping Chaos and Arda and skipping the doubles, I'd still recommend coming Friday, because then Ardacon's going to give you all the biggest news coming out from the Middle-earth team themselves. So, absolutely recommend being there. Then, after that, obviously, as you guys know, we tend to be at the bar till 1 a.m. plus and onward. So, and he even mentions that when the bar closes. And so, next you have Saturday. So we have the grand tournament beginning that Saturday morning at 9:45, and so we start with an early day. I actually welcome this. Last year there was an issue where we had to go a little bit past the time. I don't see that being a problem this year. I think the schedule is well done in this case. So he gives us 2 hours per game, which is at 700 points per game. So we even get a little bit of a boost with the amount of models we get to take. Oh, and by the way, guys, at 9 o'clock, the convention actually opens up for registration. So same kind of thing, just show up early, and then you can get registered and everything like that. The games are randomly determined by a dice roll, and the 7th game. So there's actually 6 games for most people, but then he adds a 7th game for an actual championship round, I guess, like the top table player. And essentially that is randomly determined. That is a separate role entirely from the previous 6 games. So the 6 games can only be one of each scenario, but in the 7th game you have no idea because it can duplicate one of the scenarios from the 6. So the grand tournament goes for 3 rounds all the way up until 7:30, and then you get the day 2 draw, which will be a real big time for anticipation. Then you have the SBG Magazine Q&A. Now this is another solid seminar. Highly recommend it, but then again, all of you guys are going to be there at that point because, I mean, who didn't show up for the grand tournament? And this is where we get to see the quality magazine for issue 5 for SBG Magazine. If you guys don't know what SBG Magazine is, you've been living under a rock, but it's like the best magazine for SBG, for Lord of the Rings, almost ever, in my opinion. I mean, I seriously feel like it rivals the White Dwarf very heavily. So, not necessarily in profits or sales, but I'm just saying, like, as far as quality goes. And then you have the Middle-earth quiz, which I assume is being done by the Middle-earth team. And that is happening at 9 p.m., so I guess the Middle-earth team is still involved the very next day. And then that is the end of it, and that happens at 9 p.m., and of course, hang out from that point onward. Then you have Sunday. And guys, just in case, I'll get to that in a second. So we got Sunday. Sunday, you have the last 3 games, and they will be ending at, let's see, Game 6. Oh, I apologize. I actually should mention there's 4 games on Saturday. There's only 2 games on Sunday. Technically a third one, but 2 for most of us. So the third game is a championship round. But the 2 games start at 10 a.m., and then another one happens at 1 p.m., and then that's it for the most of us. Then we get to huddle around Jay Clare and Ed Ball fighting it out, or actually one of the Polish guys probably. If we go by ETC and previous Ardacon standards, it'll probably be a Polish guy and a Brit fighting it out for top table. Maybe an American. Who knows? We might surprise you. So after that, we go into the championship round, and then the grand ceremony, which is at 6 o'clock p.m. So, for the most part, all of you guys will be out by 6 p.m. or, 6:30, since I imagine it'll be like 30 minutes or an hour long. And that will be all of Ardacon. A couple things, honorary mentions here. Obviously, there's a painting competition. There is a wide variety of categories here. So, I mean, you can pretty much, hero, warband, monster, command unit, Middle-earth on Parade, which is a display board piece. Gosh, he has it all. I mean, one hero miniature, and then... so there's one where there's like 6 miniatures, and then one where you can have a hero miniature, so you can either choose a hero or a warband. It's quite extensive. He has best painted, and then there's these favorite army ones, which is the categories. Lots of prizes to be had at Ardacon, so definitely loving that. And voting, I imagine... Okay, so... he's going to give you guys a record sheet. So it's exactly as it was last year. Everyone's going to vote. By the way, really important fact, July 31st. He wants the Army list by July 31st. So you have to actually give them early. I imagine he'll be hounding us about that kind of closer to the date. But just note about that once July 31st hits, that's it. You can't even change your Army list anymore. So for those of you procrastinators like myself, your procrastination date's actually the end of July. So after that, he goes on to describe Chaos and Arda. Now, he doesn't give the cards exactly, but you have those on my site, and you'll see them when you play it. And another thing, very important to note, Heirlooms of Battle has changed, and so has Hold Ground very slightly. Heirlooms of Battle is now he has the objectives have changed, where you basically, when an army is reduced to 25%, that's when it ends. He also changed the amount of points that certain objectives are awarded, so I'd highly recommend reading that. And he even changed when you can uncover the relic, and he changed how Maelstrom of Battle works. Major changes to Heirlooms of Battle. Do not be blindsided. Read this information here, and you'll probably have it again in the rules pack when he gives us the sheets. Hold Ground was just changed with Maelstrom of Battle, so minor change, but still, once again, you want to read that. So mostly it's the warbands come on. You alternate warbands rather than an entire force coming in, which is a change actually we're even making to even our events. So other than that, it's all the standard scenarios. So for those of you who don't like banner stuff and you're playing Dale or Lake Town, then I'm sorry, bring an ally. Bring a banner with you. So the last thing you guys need to know is the World Team Championship format. And this is actually kind of important. So essentially, it's 4 to 9 players are on a team. Most people are coming in blocks of teams of 4 to 9. And the biggest thing to note is there's a unified format where you can't bring a model, a hero, if one of your allies have brought it. So if one of you have the Undying, then all the rest of you can't bring the Undying. This is obviously an exception for like if you play an evil Saruman and a good Saruman. That's okay. However, it's not an exception if you have a Boromir the White Tower and a Boromir the Fellowship. They actually count as the same Boromir, in which case you're all barred from playing it. Very important to work out with your team what you're playing. This is actually also more important than the fact that the larger your team is, the more you're all going to start to get restricted. So most likely, your best players are going to take the units they want, and then the ones who can self-admittedly sell themselves, okay, I'm not as good, they'll take kind of what's left. So, I mean, obviously you'll play it as your team decides, but I imagine that's how most teams will do it, but very important to note. So anyway, guys, if you have any questions about Ardacon, it's all in this rules pack, in my opinion. James did a fantastic job making this rules pack, very professionally done. I love it. James has always been known to make everything as professional as possible. Other than that, go ahead and ask James if you have any questions. I will definitely be at Ardacon, even running the Chaos and Arda event, and I will see you guys there.